The issue most of us have with Adani in particular is the way that deal is shrouded in mystery. One, when the CS was tasked about it, he said, and it is on the Hansard, that no other companies presented themselves for the same deal. Apparently, when Senator Onyonka was replying to him, he produced documentation to show other three companies had shown interest. Okay, so one is why particularly Adani? Why does government seem to have this appetite for Adani in particular? That's one thing. The more the government seems to have a particular preference, shows there's some vested interest. Another thing they were asked: did anyone in government travel to India to be able to do their due diligence on Adani? They said no. So to yesterday, the control of budget said actually two people from the Ministry of Transport did travel to India, and they met Adani in person. So that would be Adani and the son, because the son is the one who runs the airports, and another son runs the ports. Now, another thing that makes Adani not a very suitable person for JKIA is that Adani has only operated airlines in India. And the reason Adani is doing so well in India is because of his connections to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. That means, should there be a change of government, then the entire structure of the Adani empire gets affected. So if we shall not have finished our airport, or Adani will not have finished our airport, then we go into a contractual limbo. And I'll give you an example. During when there was a dam we were doing with the government of, if I'm not wrong, it was Italy, where it was Italy. Where something Rahul Mazi was the prime minister. Then Italy went into default. That, in fact, those two dams, that's Kimwarel and the other dam in LD. Both of them to date, nothing has been done on them, but we are paying for them. Why? Because the contract was signed. So there's a lot of gray areas with the Adani deal in terms of there are people in government who have vested interest and they are trying to hide behind Adani. Now, the last point is Adani seems to be snapping up very key strategic investments in Kenya. The airport is one of them, but that one is in court and it's being tried to be stopped. Electricity is another one of them, and health is another one. So why would you how can one company be this lucky in all these deals? Now, that's where the gray area is. And when we talk about employment, if you look at how the Adani contract is, the Kenya government does not make a lot of money. Why? Because we are supposed, Adani says that we process the working visas, he will not pay a penny for that. Okay, so all employees he will bring to do the labor and the workmanship and everything, the Kenyan government will cater for that. Number two, he has negotiated 4 tax concessions, which is not a bad. Okay, most people coming to do that kind of an investment will do the same. But you want, as a government, you want to see that as you negotiate with this investor, you also protect the interest of your citizens. In what way? The government should have said that we shall take in your employees in terms of bringing the professionals, what Kenyans can do. So bring your architect, we don't have a problem, because that is something we cannot draw. We believe you have the master plan. But in terms of casual laborers, we want Kenyans to handle that. The deal strictly says that Adani will have the right to hire and fire and renegotiate all contracts. So is Adani creating employment for Kenyans or not creating employment for Kenyans? The answer would be most likely with the automation of the airport, which is a good thing, but it should be sequential. Most Kenyans will end up losing their jobs. And I'll give you another case. When Finley wanted to automate their tea picking, Atwoli himself stopped that. Why? He said, yes, you are going to cut cost in terms of production because machines cannot pick it, machines don't go for breaks. But our 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 economy is not that big that we can start laying off employees. So you must protect your workforce, looking at the size of your economy. So you can't be firing people when an economy is limping. Okay, so you need those checks and balances. So when you look at the checks and balances in this entire Adani deal in terms of the employees, it fails the test. It fails the test miserably. So those are some of the things. There's the secrecy. There's the way the contract is structured. Though I hear Adani has his team has forwarded another another structural thing to try and see whether the KA employees will see whether that one is better than what he had offered before. Now that brings in another question. If this entire strike about Adani made Adani himself on his part write another deal for us, it means we did not negotiate. The people who were negotiating for Kenya did not get the best deal for Kenyans. It shows Adani still has space to give more. So why didn't we squeeze him so that we get an airport and we also protect our employees at the same time and also increase more jobs? Some of these for us. So if the money can be opened up, it's black and white, people can look at it and say,
I think the question that Anthony has laid is not necessarily who do we want, but how transparent is this deal to the point that there is a very competitive way of doing things that is transparent, and there's a fair play when it comes to who are the players that are interested in this whole thing. The question is that why all this kind of people not coming out clearly and stating this is where we are, this is what we have negotiated, and this is how it's going to benefit the country. But even before we get there, the question that has always run around is that there's a separation between the capitalism, and by the way, the pastor from Heldov, the person who came up with that, it was George. So George is here; he would defend himself today. Anyway, so the point is that and one of our great guys he has presented previously that are we really going to privatize everything because of the incompetence and the corruption of the government? Can't the government? Why are these institutions failing? It's because people are not doing the right thing and people are not being held accountable. And now trying to privatize them, but not giving even the locals, sorry to say that, a chance to be the ones to even own and run those kind of key sectors. It is a question that can even be a security threat. Now, once you start having even somebody who has loyalty divided, I'm sorry to say that, to their homeland, which is now in a different country, to run your electricity. Forget about all these other things. We're talking about these are strategic things that actually can pose even issues to your own homeland. Airports. We're talking about electricity, which is really a big deal. And it's being shrouded in all this kind of, kind of secrecy is what the Kenyan people are asking. How did we get here? Is there something we would have done better to even have be run by people that don't have divided loyalty? Then what is the exploitation of the local people? I think the Senate did a very amazing job, in my opinion, to really question these things and bring out that they were not the only people who actually presented this PIP. There were other people who were interested in it. But then what happened? The guys who were trying to review this, they kind of put aside some of the three other companies, and then they fronted this. And then what do we hear now? This company also has their own, issues all over the globe. I don't know if it's Bloomberg the other day that they came up their projection of trillionaires in the coming years. Did you guys see that Adani now is projected by, is it 20 50 or some 2030, they're going to be among the top 3 trillionaires when they actually are having issues in other countries that are dealing with. So what the Kenyan people are asking is, was this subjected to the fair competition in the market? Do we understand how this deal is going on? Are our people going to be retained or they are going to be fired? The clarity of the documents that were presented, and of course they are all been they were admitted, is that we are going to have people be laid off, and they are going to be, these guys are going to have the discretion on who to hire and who not to hire. So the question we have, then how do you protect your own people? There are some things that you don't have to do because of profit, but because you want to do it for the public good and to protect your own citizens. And in my opinion, which I think Anthony laid this case very well, I don't feel that it meets the threshold of some of these things that are supposed to be for the benefit of the Kenyan citizen. And for that, girl, my friend Mariam, good to see you here.